As you know, electrification, we also saw it, is more than just ordering a car, more than ordering the electric vehicle. You're going to need to rethink many things, like the employee mobility strategy, also new resources, new tools. What do you do with certain data and market data? The new services that come with that electrification to make your journey a success. Well, that's exactly the goal of car leasing and business mobility specialist ALD Automotive. They want to deliver new resources and services you need to make your transition as efficient, as smooth as possible. And they are going to share with us some insights on how to do that. You see already our three experts on the screen, and I would like to invite them here on stage. Raphaël Chenier, Product and Innovation Manager at ALD Automotive. Raphaël, welcome. Welcome to Brussels. Thierry Faure, Head of Sales International Key Accounts at ALD Automotive, and Amélie de Valroger, Head of Business Intelligence and Consultancy. Welcome, three of you. Take your seats. There are fresh glasses. There is still some water. Okay?
Good morning, Steven.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. It's really great to see you in person. After so many years. I'm not forgetting your colleagues who could not come. I'm thinking of many of our good partners who are, I think, seeing us remotely. Hopefully we see them in Rome, Stephen, or in the next edition of Fleet Europe. Obviously, we are going to talk about electrification. Who would have believed 2 years ago that 27% of our vehicle registrations are electrified vehicles. 27% electrified vehicles in 2021. Actually, these are not the market figures, these are the ALD figures. This is what we had in the first 9 months of this year, 27%. And the market, I think, is at 14%. This is really moving fast. And I think there is obviously the huge imperative, especially at the time of the COP26 in Glasgow, where our politicians are making some progress, especially making announcements, when our clients have been very progressive and very bold in their move towards electric vehicle at a pace which has surprised us. And obviously, it's the second external driver is keeping your employees mobile. A number of cities in Europe have declared low-emission zones, which are coming into force now for some and very soon for others. So servicing some installations, some clients in the city centers requires electric vehicles. At the same time, we have the corporate challenges. In the middle of the slide, we're supposed to have the image of a fleet manager. It has disappeared, but that's okay. And many of you have to deal with these corporate targets. Fleet has to be carbon neutral in 2030. 100% of the cars have to be electric by 2025. This is the type of target that some of you are getting from their corporates. But you are managing the fleet, so at the same time, you need to keep your drivers mobile and happy. If they need to drive 300 kilometers a day, do they have the right range with an EV? You also have to manage budget, and can you go green and at the same time maintain your budget stable? And then there is the last uncertainty, which is around, okay, those EVs are great, but when can I get them delivered? Is it in 2022 or is it in 23? So you have to juggle with all these uncertainties. What we see is that the barriers to electrification, which were cost, range, and charging infrastructure, are disappearing. But the drivers still have some hesitations, depending on where they live. And actually, getting a wall box at home, I've done it. It's something quite personal. You have someone coming at your house and asking you, Do you have enough power to power your house and the charging of your car, or this type of things? So we should not underestimate the change management for your drivers as well. If we go to the next slide, so with my two best friends to electrify your fleet, Raphael and Amélie, I think we have what we need. We have a product, and in ALD we have made sure to have across Europe an end-to-end solution. Raphael will tell you what it entails, so that it's not just about leasing an electric vehicle, but it's also about charging and tracking the kilowatt hour and the cost of electricity. At the same time, we don't think it is a one-size-fits-all. Not all your drivers can get an EV today, which requires a consultancy approach. Drivers profiling is part of the consultancy methodology, which Amélie will explain. But it's not just about the driver profiling, it's also about the market readiness. Are there enough charging infrastructure in the country? So we think that we have the right methodology, and the combination of consultancy and product, we should be able to support the electrification of your fleet. So I hand over to Raphael.
Thank you. So actually, I will start with something that can look quite simple, but we tend to enter quite quickly the complexity of all the charging ecosystem, and we forget about the simple things. And I guess the first thing we would advise is simply the test drive. So you all have the possibility today to test several different vehicles. It's nice. I think you have this opportunity thanks to your position. And the driver, yes, he can always go by himself to a dealership and test some vehicles. But if you can make it easier for him, if you can make it more accessible, and you have several ways to do it, and we can help you do it. Basically, it's about having some vehicles like today in some of your internal events. So, of course, with these COVID times, it was a bit complicated, but I guess things will improve shortly, and this will become more and more possible. But when you just drive a vehicle for a few minutes, it doesn't give really the full experience of the EV, because of course we are talking also about charging. So this is where you can think about having, if you have a fleet, pool fleet, introduce some vehicles, electric vehicles, for your drivers to be able to test, but also to think about the short-term options and flexible options that we have in order to make it possible to have this full experience and also to know how to charge and so on. So this is the first advice we would give. And then it's also about making sure that your driver's needs are always satisfied. And what do we mean by that? So usually you would have still this range anxiety in your driver's head. They think that if they need to go on holidays, if they need a bigger car, whatever, they don't want to spend too much time charging during their journey. Or they are afraid not to find maybe a charging station that would work. Then it is to give them the possibility for some days, a few days, to have a nice vehicle. So this is, of course, a temporary solution. And I mean, if you think about some more advanced countries like Norway, where people are much more used to driving an EV, then there it does not really make sense. But you still have many markets where there is this fear, and it can give some comfort to your drivers. So it's really important that you are able to really take off the remaining barriers for the adoption of the electric vehicles by your drivers. And then comes maybe the more complex part. So how do I charge, and concretely, what does it change? Because no, of course, driving an electric vehicles is not just switching maybe a fuel card by an energy card. It's completely different. What we see is that when you were used to fueling your vehicle maybe once a week, or even less, depending on the usage of the vehicle, now you will have to charge your vehicle maybe several times a day. You will spend time waiting for your vehicle to be charged, depending on the situation. So it's really a change of habits. And we know also that 80% of the charging will take place at home and at the office. So this is where you can play an important role. And as Thierry mentioned in the beginning, it's much more invasive because we are talking about going to the driver home and install a wall box and make some changes in his electricity installation. And this is where you need to be reassured that you can provide a solution, you can help them because it's complicated to find the right provider, to find the right installer, because it's expensive. And then you need to have a good solution for that. So it's quite a complex ecosystem. As I just said, you have many, many players to take into account. It's quite difficult to do it by yourself. It's even more difficult for a driver to do it by himself. And this is where we come with a solution that we wanted to be as complete as possible in order to offer really a good experience for your driver, but also for you in terms of managing your TCO, because in the end, it's always about the cost of your fleet. And you know that the costs will vary a lot because depending on the price of the electricity, on the fees that the charging station owners will put, if you, of course, charge on the road, which is much more expensive, if you really want to master your TCO, you will need to understand all these details. It will be more complex than it used to be. And you will need many data, and you will need to understand this data. Because the TCO will depend on many more factors than it used to be the case before. So, first of all, I was talking about the home charger. Well, we do provide a solution, so you can easily give this possibility to your driver if, of course, it's possible for them to install a charger at their home. And to include all this into your lease package, thanks to, of course, selected partners that we are working with, main one being for ALD, the partner ChargePoint. Then you need also to think about driver reimbursement, because yes, you used to provide a fuel card, and now they will charge most of the time at home, and their electricity bill will increase. So they will wait for you to, of course, reimburse, and you don't want to manage all these administrative complications. So having automatic payment and reimbursement of the electricity to your drivers is key. Then, of course, a charging card. I mentioned it. You need to access on the road the possibility to charge the car. So here, to have access to all the data, to understand what are exactly the price in full transparency. This is also what you need to have. An app, but why an app? Because of course the driver needs to find the closest charging station. He needs also to initiate the charging sessions. So with an app, it's always easier, but he can always use a card also. And the driver would want to know exactly what he has spent and have also the data that you can get. So through the app, he will be able to have all this. Let's just not forget about the office chargers, because this is a huge part also of the whole journey. if you can give access to charging at your premises and control, of course, if you want your driver to drive there for free, while if you have some visitors, you want to maybe make them pay a small amount for using the charging stations, but also you want to make sure that your drivers won't stay parked at the charging stations while they have finished charging their car. So all of this is also really important and is also available within our offer. And last but not least, for your own experience, all the reporting, because all this data and this information, whether for the electricity consumption at home, but also for all the charging sessions on the road and also at the office, have this whole global view is essential to have the full TCO. So you need to have these reports well set up, full access, in order to be able to understand all this new behavior of your fleets. And this is what we propose.
Thank you, Raphaël. Hello. So now that Raphaël has proven to you that we have the best product, I have 8 minutes to convince you that we have also the best-in-class report. Why? That's simple. Because this methodology comes from you. We all know that electrification is more than just ordering an electric vehicle. It's more complex than that. So our goal is to give you the support you need to make this transition simple and accessible. So I'm Amélie de Valroger. I'm head of business intelligence and consultancy at ALD Automotive. And I'm going to present you our 5-step methodology, starting from fleet analysis, marketing intelligence, and benchmarking, to follow-up support on change management and KPIs monitoring. So this methodology answers all the legitimate questions you may have on electrification. So where should I start my energy transition, and at which pace? For which drivers? How much it will cost? And what internal rules for my organization? So let's answer to your first legitimate question. Where should I start my energy transition, and at which pace? A lot of clients come to me and say, my management wants to have electric vehicles everywhere starting next year. Okay, how do we do that? Our answer is, let's look at the reality of the market. To do that, we have built a mobility guide. The new edition has been released this morning. So this guide includes an EV maturity scoring system, which evaluates the maturity of country towards electrification. So this is based on different criteria, such as OEM offer, market penetration, charging network, government incentive and taxation, and also source of energy used. So with this guide, you know now where to start your energy transition and at which pace. So then comes your second legitimate question. For which driver? For which driver? And again, my clients come to me and say, okay, I want to have full EV for all my employees. And our answer is, we need to look at the needs and usage. One size doesn't fit all. So with our EV driver methodology, we can support you to define the best offer for your employees. So we have different options to do. We can analyze the data from your contract. We can also analyze the data from telematic device, connected cars. But also, the survey, which is usually the simplest option we can have. So if we take this option, the survey, what we have to do? So first, we need to define, the audience to which employee we are going to send the survey. All my employees globally, or only a sample? Then we need to build the survey based on your criteria. So, for instance, what the daily mileage? Can they install a wall box at home? Do they come, do they come at the office? Do they work at home? What about holidays and weekends, for instance? So then, based on the output of this survey, we define driver profiles and best offer for them in terms of powertrain, charging solution, and also mobility means. So now you know how to define exactly the needs and usage of your clients. This is the ideal time to do it because we are back to life, back to work, back to more certainty after COVID crisis. So let's consider here Tom, for instance, 40 years old, head of marketing, living in Paris in an apartment. He's back at the office 3 times a week, and he's stuck in the traffic jam with his big SUV. And he wants to improve also his carbon footprint. We have a panel of solutions for Tom. We have EV, PHEV, bikes, e-bikes, but also mobility budget. We offer a solution for every driver. So, what we mentioned is that, yes, the TCO is one of the main blockers to electrification. That's legitimate. You don't want to increase your cost. And what a complex matter for you with the taxation evolving. So our goal is to make it simple and clear. So we have developed a new app, the Green Scorecard, which assesses the TCO of you and also your employees, and also the CO2 impact. We can, benchmark one vehicle with greener alternatives, but also make projection for your entire fleet. So this tool, this app, is available as of Jan in France and in the Netherlands, and will be rolled out progressively in Europe in 2022. Our clients love it. And one of our clients in the pharma industry say that it's the best innovation he has seen in a while. So finally, which rules for my organization? We know that with electrification, we need to face also new solutions. What about the cost of the wall box, of the energy? What about the wall box if an employee resigns or is in sick leave, for instance? So during a workshop with you and your key stakeholders, we are going to review all these questions with you and to provide you with alternative, but also drafting for every item. So now with this new app, the Mobility Policy Designer, your new e-mobility policy will be made easy. So to sum up, why we have the best-in-class support? That's simple. Because this methodology is concrete, is co-created with you and approved, because this methodology is based on data from our 1.7 million of vehicles, because this methodology is also, because we can offer you a wide panel of different solutions, and because our consultants are trained to speak electric everywhere and to support you in 43 countries. This collaboration is the key to your energy transition success. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I know we are pressed by time. I will conclude very shortly. So you have seen the product with Raphael, end-to-end solution, covering all the possible aspects with our partner ChargePoint. And you've seen the support, the methodology with Emily. They are my best two allies, really. I mean, we have huge demand from clients, and working with their teams, we've really been able to fulfill, I think, the expectations and even surprise pleasantly some of our clients. Some of you in this room or some of you behind their laptop, for those who could not make it, will recognize themselves. We have worked with more than 10 clients this year on the charging, on the product, including the test drive and this type of things, and as well on the consultancy with Emily's team. And just to conclude, there is nothing better than a client talking about what we do rather than me trying to sell anything to you. And this testimonial, I will not name the company, but it's absolutely a real one. This happened in Q2 this year. Global pharma, big pressure from corporates to come with CO2 targets by 2025. And we really help them define, based on different scenarios of projections, countries by countries, what their CO2 footprint would look like. And the way this US-based gentleman has quoted it is quite telling. We really delivered what he was looking for. Just to tell you that we are here to help. It's a great journey. Every time we do it, we learn with you, and we are happy to further improve working collaboratively with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Steven.
Thierry, Raphaël, Amélie. Thank you.